Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour over all of the books and things on my bookshelves. As you can see, I have arranged my bookshelves in rainbow order, which is something some people may see as a crime. However, I think it's so cute and way prettier than arranging them by series. Of course, we have the customary Andrew Minyard quote from All for the Game, the best book series I've ever read. Next, we have Spider-Man memorabilia. First, we have Girl Serpent Thorn. I have not read this, and I hear it's about a 3.5 to 4-star book, and I'm pretty excited to read it. Eleanor and Park. Don't read it, it's racist. I read it when I was 13, and it's not good at all. I have not read it yet. I don't know when I plan to. And then we have All for the Game, the best book series of all time. Many will disagree with me, but I love it so much. If you do ever plan on reading it, please look up the trigger warnings, as they are extensive and intense. Next, we have The Cruel Prince, part of the Folk of the Air series. I really enjoyed the Folk of the Air series. However, I do think the plot was lacking and that the main couple kind of carried the series on their shoulders. Next is The One, and this book is the third book in the Selection series, which is pretty good if you are a young teen. I wouldn't say that it's amazing. Now I probably would have rated it about 3.5 stars, but it's really nice and a quick read if you're looking for something fun and romantic. Next is An Abundance of Catherines, and I'm not going to talk much about the John Green books that I own, as I read them all when I was in middle school. One of Us is Lying. I have not read that yet, but it looks very good and I'm very excited. Housekeeping I read for a college assignment and I don't even think I finished it. It's about rent and poverty, and it's pretty interesting. I might go back and read it at some point. Obviously, we have P.S. I Still Love You and To All the Boys I've Loved Before over here. Very good series, definitely recommend. It's about a 4-star series and I really enjoyed that, as well as the movies. There's Everything Everything, which I have not read, but maybe I'll get to it someday. 1984, I read for an assignment in high school. It was pretty alright. I don't enjoy classics too much, but it wasn't awful. I bought If I Stay in high school after I watched the movie, and I never ended up reading it. Maybe I'll read it one day, we'll see. Then we've got a Nicholas Sparks book, The Lucky One. Not sure I'm ever going to read that. I don't know why I bought it. A lot of these books I bought a long time ago and never ended up reading. Then we have The Raven King, which is the last book in the Raven Cycles series by Maggie Stiefvater. These books are pretty good, however, there are some racist comments in there, and the author has been known to be somewhat tone deaf when she writes about characters of color and LGBT characters. Then we have The Perks of Being a Wallflower, amazing 5-star read, one of the best books I've ever read, love it so much. We have The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it and I'm very excited to read it. We have Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins, which I love to death. It's such a great book. It's especially good for young LGBT girls to read and see young girls like themselves. It's really nice and I definitely recommend it. Down here we have the Lunar Chronicles fantasy young adult series by Marissa Meyer, which I think are severely underrated. and they are fairy tale retellings in a dystopian setting, and I think they're amazing and that everyone should read them. Next, we have Red Riding Hood. It's based on the movie Red Riding Hood, and it's okay. I don't really recommend it. It's about a 2-star read for me. Next, we have Call Down the Hawk, which I believe I rated either 3 to 4 stars and is the kind of sequel series to The Raven Cycle, and I'm not sure I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed The Raven Cycle, and it's just not really as interesting. We'll see as the series progresses. Fairest is a novella of the Lunar Chronicles, and I have not read it yet. However, I do plan on getting to it soon. Next, we have Six of Crows. Obviously, if you are watching a booktuber, you know what Six of Crows is. Heist book, very good, getting a Netflix show this year, and I love it so much. I named my cat after the main character, and it's really, really great. I definitely recommend. I haven't read An Ember in the Ashes yet. I got it for my birthday. Thank you so much, Layla. And I plan on reading it soon, and I hear it is amazing. Serpent and Dove, I have heard mixed reviews about. We'll see if it ends up being any good. I'm really hoping the main couple, Lou and Reed, step it up and impress me when I finally do read it. And the second book, Blood and Honey, is coming out September 4th, I think, and I'm excited to read that. We have Crier's War, one of my favorite books of all time. It is a sapphic fantasy novel about a robot girl and her handmaiden, and it is very, very interesting, and I definitely recommend that to everyone that is looking for a good sapphic fantasy book. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes I have not read, but I did have to push it and sell it really hard back when I worked at Barnes & Noble, and I've heard that it is amazing. However, I'm not sure how excited I am to read about President Snow. Next, we have a small book called Dirty Little Secrets. I read this, I think, when I was 11. It's okay, about the daughter of a hoarder. It's interesting, not very popular. I'm not sure why I read it, but it was a very quick read. If you're looking for something that you've never heard of, it was pretty interesting. Next, we have Escaping from Houdini, which is a part of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I have not read that yet. I do plan on getting to it soon. I've heard a lot about the two main characters, Audrey Rose Wadworth and Thomas Cresswell, and I'm very excited to see what the hype is about. Next is Alex Van Helsing. I did have to read this for an assignment in middle school, and I met the author and he was really nice. I don't remember a lot about the book, so I can't say whether or not I recommend it, but if you're looking for a vampire book, I would give it a try. This Coven Won't Break is the second installment of these Witches Don't Burn series. I have not read it yet, and I'm going to get it to it soon. I realize that it seems like I haven't read a lot of these books. However, I do have a lot of books on my TBR, and I am going to be getting to them very quickly, hopefully. Next is Skinny. I read this in middle school. However, I should not have been reading it in middle school. It is a book about eating disorders, and I can't remember a lot of what was in it. However, I do remember that eating disorders were kind of unhealthily portrayed within the book. Here we have Hunting Prince Dracula, which is also a part of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. We have Ruby Red, which is an amazing trilogy. I read it for the first time in middle school, and I've reread it about twice since then. The other books are Emerald Green and Sapphire Blue, and they're about time travel, families that are born into time traveling genetics, and it's really, really interesting, and the romance is amazing. I definitely recommend it for anyone who hasn't read it. Next, we have Catching Fire. We all obviously know how amazing the Hunger Games books are, and I would absolutely recommend them to anyone who hasn't read them yet, which I assume is almost no one. Next, we have Check Please, which is a graphic novel, and I absolutely recommend it. It is so cute and such a quick read, and I really, really enjoyed it. As someone who loves sports romance, it was great. Next, we have The Dream Thieves, which is also a part of the Raven Cycle series. One of Us is Next is the second installment of One of Us is Lying. Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which is the book counterpart of the Love, Simon movie. Looking back on Simon vs. Now, I see that it is kind of fetishizing gay men, especially since it was written by a straight woman, and there are some questionable sexual scenes in there. So I'm not sure if I would recommend it or not. However, the movie is really, really cute, and there's no sexual scenes at all, and it is definitely really nice for young LGBT people to watch. Next, we have Paper Towns. This was my favorite out of all of the John Green books, and I really enjoyed the movie. I'm not sure how much I would enjoy the book now, since the last time I read it was when I was 14. Next, we have Ruin and Rising, which is the last book of the Shadow and Bone series. I would not really recommend the Shadow and Bone series. Compared to Six of Crows, it is disappointing and kind of boring. However, if you are wanting to watch the show, I guess I would recommend that you read the book. The Elite is the second book in the Selection series that I have already talked about. We see Allegiant here, which is the third book in the Divergent series, and is the book where obviously everything went to hell and kind of disappointed most readers. If I'm remembering correctly, most people were very disappointed in Allegiant being the last and unsatisfying installment of the series. Next, we have City of Glass and City of Fallen Angels. This is part of the Mortal Instruments series. It's not as good as some of Cassandra Clare's other series. It is definitely my least favorite of all of them. I would recommend The Dark Artifices more than I would recommend these books. Next, we have Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. I've already made a video regarding this book, so if you want to know more about it, just go watch that. It's really, really great. I've also already made a video about the Henna Wars last week, and I would recommend you go watch that if you want to know more about the Henna Wars, which I rated 5 stars. Next, we have Daisy Jones and the Six. I have not read this yet, and I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it. I hear one of the characters serves pregnancy trope, which is one of my least favorite tropes, and so it is making it kind of hard to want to get into. Next, we have The Electric Heir, which is the second book in the Fever King series, and I will be getting to it soon. I'm very excited about the main characters, which I've heard a lot about. The Kill Order is the prequel book to The Maze Runner, and I've heard it's okay from some people. I've heard that some people loved it, and I'm not sure if I want to read it or not. Next, we have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin, which is about West African mythology. I've heard that it is really, really great, and I just bought it, and I'm very, very excited to read it. King of Scars is the first book in the sequel series of Shadow and Bone. It is way, way, way better than Shadow and Bone and focuses on Nikolai Lantsov, who is the King of Ravka, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm so excited for the second book. Interference is a sports romance book. I have not read it yet, but I'm very excited to get into it. It is very long, so I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to read it. Next, we have Running with Lions by Julian Winters, which I am obsessed with. It is a sports fiction book about a soccer team practicing over the summer, and I loved it so much, and I know all of you will too, so go give it a chance. Next, we have Wilder Girls by Rory Powers, about a deadly virus that I just recently read, which is very scary right now. I rated it about 3 stars, and that is just because I was very unsatisfied with the ending. However, if you like ambiguous endings, you might enjoy Wilder Girls. Next, we have Chain of Gold, which is the first book in the Last Hours series by Cassandra Clare. I enjoyed this book a lot. However, I do not enjoy the romance that is obviously going to be the endgame couple, James and Cordelia. I would so much rather see an endgame couple between Cordelia and Matthew. And Cordelia and Matthew are the 2 most interesting characters in the book and are a lot more interesting than the Mortal Instruments characters. Next, we have Beartown. I have not gotten to this book yet. I've heard a lot about it. I hear it's very sad. So we will see how much I cry. Next, we have Safe Haven by Nicholas Sparks. I loved this movie. However, I never ended up reading the book. I'm not sure if I ever will. Next, we have The Son of Neptune and The Lost Hero over here. These are part of the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan, and they include Percy Jackson and Annabeth Chase from Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And I love, love, love this series. All the characters are amazing, and I am obsessed. Next, we have The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. I've already done a review on this book, and so you know that I am obsessed with it, and The Silvered Serpents, which comes out September 22nd. Please go read these books. They are amazing, and I love them so much. Next, we have The Midnight Lie by Marie Rutkowski, which is so good. It is a sapphic dystopian novel, and it is amazing. I can hardly even tell you the description because it is so in-depth and complex, and I love it so much, and I know you guys will too, so just go read it. Next, we have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. We all know how that goes. We have Love, Rosie by Cecilia Ahern. I have not read the book yet, but Love, Rosie is one of my favorite movies, and I know that when I get to it, the book is going to be amazing. Next, we have Of Curses and Kisses. I've heard this is a alright, decent book. I will be getting to it soon, and I'm really excited to see what it's about. Next, we have Renegades by Marissa Meyer, one of the more underrated books that I've read, and I definitely recommend you go read it. It is so good. If you're looking for a good book about superheroes, this is the book you're looking for. Next, we have The Bane Chronicles, which is the only book of short stories of Cassandra Clare's that I've read. I have not read Ghosts of the Shadow Market or Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy because The Bane Chronicles just looked very interesting to me, as Magnus Bane is one of the more interesting characters in Cassandra Clare's series, and I really enjoyed it. Next, we have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. If you haven't read this, you have not lived. Please go read it. It is so good. Next, we have Queen of Air and Darkness, which is the last installment of the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare. This series is my favorite of Cassandra Clare's. I really, really loved it so much. All the characters are amazing, and it is 1,000 times better than the Mortal Instruments. Next, we have Girls of Storm and Shadow, which is the second installment of the Girls of Paper and Fire series. and I've heard this is such a good fantasy book, and I am so excited to read it. Next, we have The Crown, which is part of the sequel series to The Selection. I did not enjoy it that much. It is not that great, and I wouldn't really recommend reading it. It's kind of boring. I've already done a rant review on Super Adjacent. I would not recommend this book at all. If you're looking for a superhero book, as I said, read Renegades, Archenemies, and Supernova. Cinderella is Dead is a pretty good read. I rated it 4 stars, and it didn't really hook me. However, I enjoyed it, and the characters were interesting and developed. However, I just wish the story was a bit more developed. Next, we have The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which I read for a school assignment in middle school, and I don't think I finished it all the way through, and I've never really watched the movie either, so I don't have a lot to say on this one. Next, I have Not the Girl You Marry by Andy J. Christopher, which is basically a ripoff of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It is not a very good book. Maybe I just don't like contemporary adult romances. It was very awkward and weird, and I just didn't enjoy it. Next, we have Red, White, and Royal Blue. If you want to know what I think about this book, just go watch the review I did over it. I like it pretty much. It's a good book. I'm definitely going to read it again. It reads very much like a fan fiction. Next is the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, which is my second favorite series that she has written. The characters are interesting and the plot is interesting and still better than The Mortal Instruments. Next is Ghosts of the Shadow Market, which I have not read yet, but I do plan on getting to it since there are stories about the Dark Artifices characters and Kit Haringdale, who is my favorite character from the Shadowhunters Chronicles. Next, I just have another set of the Mortal Instruments series. I got these for my birthday one year, and they are very pretty. I do think they look a lot better than the other books. Here we have 50 Shades of Grey. No one laugh at me for having read these books, and I haven't even really. I could hardly even get through the first half of the first book, which was terrible. I hated it so much, and it's one of the only books I've never been able to finish. Next is If We Were Villains. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing dark academia book. I definitely recommend it for anyone that's looking for a mystery, romance, dark academia. It is so good. Next, we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is one of my more favorite classic books. It is very interesting, and I really liked reading it in high school. Next, we have Paranormalcy, which is a book that I don't really remember reading, but I know I've read it. It is a part of a series, and I kind of want to try and read it again and see if I actually liked it or not. I read it in middle school, and I have no recollection of it. Next is House of Salt and Sorrows, which is, I believe, a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, which I'm so excited to read, and I'm definitely going to get to it after I've finished catching up on my arcs. Next is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I've heard a lot about this book. I've heard it's amazing, and I am very excited to get into it. It is about a 1960s Hollywood sapphic couple, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. Next is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I bought this book before I knew that Donna Tartt just loved saying the N-word for no reason at all. I'm not sure if I'll ever read it or not. I've heard the book is good, but I'm not sure I want to read a book by Donna Tartt. Next, we have The Dark Wife by S.E. Deemer. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. It is sapphic. It is so good. I love it so much and it's so beautiful. I definitely recommend it. I rated it 5 stars. Next, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I love this book so much. The characters Alex Stern and Darlington are some of the more interesting characters I've ever read, and I am so excited for this series to pan out. However, if you do decide you want to read Ninth House, please look up the trigger warnings as they are intense and extensive. Lastly, we have Looking for Alaska by John Green, and it's okay. Nothing to be ecstatic about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this tour of my bookshelf. I know this is a long video, but I just wanted to show you guys what kind of books I've read, what books I'm planning on reading, and what books I recommend. I will post a makeup review next week, and I will see you then. Bye!